Next guest is a powerhouse journalist who, in 2021, was one of two journalists awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Born in the Philippines, raised in New Jersey, Maria Ressa made her career at CNN creating and running two bureaus in Southeast Asia in the 90s. In 2012, she created a news website called Rappler, exposing how social media was spreading misinformation and trying to hold people in power to account. In the process, she became a target of those she was exposing, including then-President of Philippines, Rodrigo Duterte. Nobel Peace Prize laureate Maria Ressa is our guest in studio this morning. A real honor to have you here. Welcome.
It's so wonderful to be here. Thanks for having me.
Congratulations on the book. The title is fantastic. It's called How to Stand Up to a Dictator. There it is there. You are facing major consequences for doing just that, for standing up. And you write, quote, "I may go to jail for the rest of my life, or as my lawyer tells me, more than 100 years, on charges that should never even have made it to court in the first place." I know you can't get into things that are before the courts, but what keeps you speaking up? What keeps you speaking out?
Well, first of all, the good news is that I have a broad gag order, but I can tell you 34 years, possible 34 years in jail was just lifted off my shoulders in January. So that's great. We were acquitted, and beyond that, those 103 years now is down to less than a decade. So slowly but surely, it took 4 years and 2 months to get these tax evasion charges thrown out, but you know, they're out. So doing the right thing is the right thing. And why do I keep speaking up? It's the same reason why are you doing journalism? Why do you keep doing what you do, right? We're experiencing death by 1,000 cuts for sure. Our business model is dying. We're under attack. But our societies need journalism far more today. The mission is far more critical than it has ever been.
You write about the power of social media and how you believe it's a real threat to democracy in terms of spreading misinformation. You say that the Philippines was ground zero. I find this fascinating for the effects that social media has on a nation. What did you see, and what can we learn from that?
I think you look at the Philippines, first of all, it's like a petri dish, because very early on, we were first adapters to social media. And today, 100% of Filipinos on the internet are on Facebook. Facebook 100%. Is our internet. It's now 100%. In 2017, with Mark Zuckerberg, it was 97%, and he asked, you know, so where are the other 3%? But today, it's 100%. So they tested these tactics. It's almost like we're fruit flies, if you know genetic research, you know. Our lifespan is very quick, so you can see whether these tactics of manipulation work. And the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower, Chris Wiley, actually said this. He said that if these tactics work in the Philippines, then they port, that's his word, they port it over to the West. And Canada is a target.
All countries are a target.
Yes.
I want to discuss a little bit. You mentioned this exchange in the book about when you met Zuckerberg in 2017. He said, you told him, Facebook powerful in the Philippines, 97% at that point were on. What was his response, and what should we take away from that?
He immediately, first of all, he looked like he was puzzled, and then he asked me, so where are the other 3%? And I laughed at that point. There were about a dozen of us around the table, and, you know, it was funny, but it wasn't funny.
Yeah, you were trying to highlight a concern for him.
97%. That is how powerful Facebook was, right? No one media organization had that large of an audience. That meant it was a force, and I was hoping it would be a force for good. But you know, as we've seen since then, particularly in 2016, it started becoming insidiously manipulative, and is now a force for evil, I would say.
Tools can become weapons very easily, depending on whose hand they're in. Amal Clooney she writes the foreword of this book, but she's also part of your legal team. She calls you a 5'2" superhero. You and I are about the same height, so this is a really great title. One of your first meetings, she asked you a question, and she said, why wouldn't you get asked this a lot, why wouldn't you just stay in the U.S.?
My gosh. Yeah, and I'm asked a lot, and every time it hits me, you know, because it wasn't an option. I have a company. This is, imagine the ultimate betrayal. First to my folks, to the people we recruited who put their lives on the line as much as I do. You only see me, but in the end, I try to hold up the sky for our entire team. Beyond that, the journalists in the Philippines, we're doing our best, right? There's a Damocles sword hung over your head. You try to bat it away, but if I fled when I'm not guilty of anything, that weakens the position. I'm not going to be a tipping point the other way against press freedom and against democracy.
When you take a look, Maria, at our geopolitics right now, what should we be watching for? We're watching the war in Ukraine. We're seeing countries take visible sides. What should we be watching for?
Don't think it's out there. You know, today, yes, there's war. Russia invaded Ukraine. It's conventional war, but the real war is here. It's in your pocket. It's personal. In the Nobel lecture, I talked about a person-to-person battle for integrity. Bring that down, a person-to-person battle for facts. It's a battle for values. You have to win that, right? And in the context, change your world.
Interesting, the war that's happening right here. So great to meet you. Thank you again for coming in. The book is fascinating. It's called How to Stand Up to a Dictator by Maria Ressa.
Hey, thanks for watching. If you liked this, be sure to subscribe here, or you can check out more Your Morning videos right here.